Hello, Martin. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited to meet you because I've never actually interviewed anyone from Europe and particularly from Czech Republic. It's a country I'm very interested in because I used to live there actually for many years, and I've been following you for a while, and I decided to reach out to you, and so you accept my invitation. I'm so thankful.
Oh, it's pleasure to be here, and the fact that I'm the representative of Europe, it's quite stressful at the same time. So hopefully I will be the good representative.
First time I met you was when I saw that when we interacted about CzechDreamin, and I was like, wow, this amazing conference happening, for like unique one in Central Europe. I don't think it's happening in any other countries. And I saw you also involved in a whole bunch of other things in Czech Republic and growing the Salesforce community. So you're doing amazing things. But before we get to talk about those awesome things you're doing right now, I would be very interested to hear, how did you get started in Salesforce? Like, I'm always interested. How did you stumble upon this technology?
I think you used the right word, stumble upon this technology, because I started with the IT like 20 years ago, maybe more, when I've been doing IBM notes or Lotus notes at that time. And then I had a few breaks, and I think 7 or 8 years ago, I've been on a parental leave, and I realized I don't have much to do, and I would still want to keep in touch with the IT. And I've been at some conference, and there was an organization who spoke about Salesforce, and it was like second or third time I heard about Salesforce. And at that time, I also see a lot of people from the IBM notes world moving to Salesforce, like René Winkelmeyer, developer evangelist in Salesforce. I think he moved at the same time. I was like, okay, it's like a few times I heard about Salesforce, so it's probably good to learn more. So I signed up for the developer edition, which was the only way at the time, and I opened it, and it's pretty similar to IBM Notes. It's rapid application development as well. You can click, not code. It basically can solve the same area of problems as IBM Notes. I was like, yeah, that looks good. I might be happy here. I can use the expertise I have from the history and build on that. So I get more involved, and that's how it started, rock and roll from there.
You got started the developer edition out of curiosity, and what did you do with this knowledge? How did you find your first project?
First project was the worst one, because I got in touch with this organization who was on the conference, the CRM Pro Neziskovky, and I told them, look, I'm here, I'm happy to help you. I don't know anything about Salesforce. I do have a practice in implementing information system and some development, but I'm not a developer, and I don't feel that's the right path for me and for the future. And the first task I got from them was, hey, can you develop some Visual Force page something? So I said, well, it's not what I had in mind, but let's see. I opened the documentation, which was the only way how to learn it at the time, and I tried to create a Visual Force page. And I don't really remember if I succeeded or not, but I remember I created something which didn't work as expected, because when you put the Visual Force page in the page layout, if you view the record, but it's not there when you edit the record, and we needed the Visual Force page to be there when we edited the record, not when we view them. It was like a complete opposite of what we needed, but I was like, sorry, I can't do much more. Find some proper developer. That's above my level. I'm happy to be admin/consultant, clicking, not coding. And from that time, I got a bit better at coding. So I did some Aura components and some Visual Force pages and a lot of UX classes. Last year, when they introduced the Lightning Web component and I saw it, I decided that hopefully this is the technology I will not learn, that it's probably another technology I need to learn, and that's probably I will skip this time, which is not the best thing probably, because that's the future, but I realize I'm probably too old for it. I don't have any JavaScript background, so it's all completely new and completely different, and I don't really understand it. It looks complex.
What year was this that you got started? 2012?
I think it was like 2012, 2013, something like that. I think my first certification is 2014.
So in 2012, right after you started, heard about it, you approached the organization CRM Pro Neziskovky, and you said, hey, can I volunteer for you, participate in something? And they gave you something, and it was too difficult for you. I don't know why they would. Sometimes organizations do that, right? Someone is new and then they give them such an advanced, like they set them up for failure.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's the task you need to complete. So maybe you will be lucky and they will make it or whatever. But yeah, it didn't discourage me. It was the opposite. So it was good.
And then you kept volunteering with them, and that's how you built up your skills?
Exactly. I volunteered with them, and CRM Pro Neziskovky basically implements Salesforce to other non-profit organizations on the Czech market. So along the way, I met a lot of different organizations, and it was exactly what I've been looking for. I wanted to be on the partner side, doing different implementations, meeting different people and helping them. So it was like perfect match in this kind of things, and I did quite a few of them. I stopped counting shortly after. At the same time, my main expertise was in the non-profit area. So when I finished my parental leave and I've been looking for a full-time job, it was quite hard to find it because I had the experience, but they were all from the non-profit sector. And for some reason, we don't consider the non-profit sector to be the same as the business sector here. Really? So it's completely different. But to me, as I have the experience, I would say that the commercial sector is the same as the non-profit sector. Maybe the non-profit is sometimes even more advanced. Nowadays, I would say it's a nice match to have the small projects for the non-profits and the big corporate projects. And I feel I can transfer the knowledge between those two different worlds.
Well, that's interesting that there's this bias against non-profit experience in the Czech Republic. Yeah. I don't think we have that in the US. And how did you get your first job? How did you convince them to give you a chance? I'm surprised you even had the difficulty finding a job because you have all this IT experience, you have like non-profit experience. What were they looking for? Like, and they also, this was a year probably when there were so few Salesforce professionals anyway. Like,
I would say it's a combination. Basically, I've been looking at the job 4 years ago. I'm 4 years with PwC. 4 years ago, the market was completely different than what it is now. I think that at that time we basically had like 3 or 4 partners here in Czech Republic, like Deloitte, Blue Wolf. That was about it. PwC at that time bought a company called Outbox and got 2 people in Czech Republic. But besides that, there was not really market. Isobar came like a year or 2 years later, and all the local partners started like 2 or 3 years later. So the market wasn't busy. There was maybe a shortage of professionals, but at the same time, it wasn't that busy. So it was maybe the timing as well. It would be probably different nowadays, but it was like that. Yeah, if you go for the big companies who do the enterprise projects and you go there that you have experience with the non-profit, which are typically pretty simple implementations, there might be the fear that you don't really, you had a long experience in IT, like overall, but maybe you don't have all the skills we need for the commercial project because we feel that the commercial projects are pretty complex, which I learned over the years that it's not quite often the case. Sometimes they are complex, but quite often they are pretty simple.
You also have teams of people, right, who can break it
up. You don't. It's also about the position, because historically I had the experience of being a developer, admin, project manager, team leader, resale person at the same time, and I like the combination. I didn't want to be just a consultant who whatever. So I wanted to have a position which is a bit broader, and also the companies quite often have just the position for the specific person and doesn't interact with all the other things. So it was challenging at the time to find also this mix.
Wow, interesting. I would have thought, given what you've achieved today, what you're doing today, I thought you were everyone was trying to grab Martin Humpolec, come for us, and you started the Salesforce wonderful organization, and
it's like it's the good and the bad at the same time, because when you are too vocal and too visible, on the one hand side it looks like that's the awesome person we want to hire. On the other hand, it's you can see me because you are quite visible and the people get some feeling about you. And I've been always proud that I divide people. When you have a presentation on conference, at least in Czech Republic and before the Uber and all this kind of companies, the typical score after the presentation is the go score. A few people hate you, a few people like the presentation, and the majority community was just, it was about average. And I'm proud to divide the people I have it negative. So I have a lot of people who really hated the presentation. And I have a lot of people who love the presentation. And I don't really have anyone in the middle. And it makes me feel good for some reason. I don't know why. But I feel I can improve, like move the people who hate me to those who like me. When I have the average one, you can't really do anything with that.
Yeah, interesting.
So yeah, at the same time, now people can be scared to hire me because I do have some behavior or whatever you call it.
Yeah, publicity. Yeah, and in the Salesforce community of Central Europe, for sure. All right, so you got your first Salesforce job about 4 years ago, right? With
I got my first job, proper job 4 years ago.
Just 4 years ago, so recent, and you've already done so much. And one of the things that you've done is CzechDreamin, a conference I really wanted to attend this year. I was so happy when I was admitted, and I was like, wow, I saw the photos from last year. A lot of attendees, very interesting sponsors, an excuse for me to visit Prague again. Unfortunately, it was cancelled, but I definitely will apply again next year, and I invite everyone else to apply, attend. And can you tell us about this conference? Why did you start this?
It all started those 3-4 years ago when I joined PwC, and I really became involved full-time in Salesforce. I remember that my first conference was the non-profit days in Amsterdam, where I met a few great people, and they were all surprised that I came all the way from Czech Republic, even though there were people from States, so they flew way longer than me. My next conference was probably London Calling, and again I was the only one from Czech Republic, and everyone was so surprised, like, wow, you came all the way from Czech Republic. Then it was probably something else. I realized I'm the only one from the Czech Republic, and I don't know why, and I found the conference is really beneficial. Not because of the people, because I feel they provide really good content, not the marketing fluffy thing, but really practical experience. So I still remember that at London Calling, I saw the Jodie's Miner's presentation about quick actions. And that was 30 minutes presentation, and that presentation paid the whole conference for me. Like, that was the outcome I've been looking for, and it was like check mark. Okay, this conference is worth the money and time. And I was like, yeah, what can we do for changing the Czech community to see that these conferences are really useful, and also to show the companies that they really should send the people outside and let them learn by meeting people and listening and being active, and not just being dependent on trailheads and blog posts and maybe some practical experience, where it's pretty hard to say that the practical experience is the best, but when you don't know how you should do it, it might not be the best. So I said, okay, let's do it in Czech Republic. Hopefully we will have no problem with speakers, because they all want to go to Prague and enjoy the city. And this part completely fulfilled. I would say we had the speakers who wanted to go to Czech Republic and enjoy Prague, so it was easy. And then I had the problem to get the attendees, because it's like, it's one day, and should we send a team of people from one company or just one representative? The Czech market was hard to target the end customers, because we don't have their list. We don't really know them. Salesforce does. But at the same time, for Salesforce, it's pretty hard to market the community conference, because it's not run by Salesforce, it's run by community. And it's paid, but it's paid to some third party unknown, so they can't really promote it. It was probably the hardest job on getting CzechDreamin together, to get the attendees. So the speakers will not have a bad feeling that they speak for just 50 attendees, but they really have the full house. And we did CzechDreamin last year, certainly not this year, but I would say I already feel the change. Obviously, we can't travel abroad as well and meet people there, so I would experience firsthand that I'm not the only one. But I experienced it at your Dreamin, like at other conferences, that I already met some people from Czech Republic there. And what was good this year about CzechDreamin, that we got a lot of speaker submissions from Czech Republic. It was a change from the year before, and I really love it, because I want to invite people from abroad, but at the same time having the local speakers is something I want to have. But at the same time, I want to make sure they are on the level of the international speakers. Just not to prefer them, but really push them to the same level. And hopefully see them at other conferences speaking as well.
You said the biggest challenge for you was finding attendees. And how did you resolve this issue? How did you find them?
It was the hardest one because when you look at your network on LinkedIn, you have like a few hundred people there, and everyone in the team had a feeling like how big is our reach? But basically it meant nothing. I feel you really need to reach out to the people individually, or maybe someone has to recommend you, and then they can think about really going there. But we contacted all the partners in Czech Republic. That was the easiest one. And we tried to get to their customers through them. But still, there's a lot of customers in Czech Republic who don't have any partner. I don't feel we reach the potential of the market, especially when I compare it to the base camp organized by Salesforce. They are completely different people there. And I would love to get them to CzechDreamin as well. And I need to find a way how to reach out to them.
How many people attended the first CzechDreamin?
I think we had 200 almost on the mark, like 205, 10, maybe something like that.
And what was your goal?
The minimum goal was 250 because that's the requirement from the Trailhead team, which we didn't fulfill. But yeah, I wanted to be above the 200.
How many were you expecting this year?
The room is good for 400 people. That would be awesome. But yeah, I don't know. I think we sold like 100 tickets, maybe 100 plus. And we stopped selling basically in February. So it's like the feeling, if it's good or if it's bad, I would say it's good because we sold so many of them so early before the conference. But at the same time, my fear was that we sold all the tickets we are able to sell because we sold them to the people who've been there the year before. And 100 of them bought the ticket again. And now we need to find the audience we didn't have the year before, and we still don't know how to get them. So that was my fear, whether it's good or it's bad. Felt good on the paper, but I was really afraid that it's all.
No, I'm sure it was just the beginning. The conference was an end of May, right? So you still had like March, April,
we still had like 4 months.
You have a team of people helping you, like volunteers, helping you organize?
Yep. We had at the end, I think we had like 7 people. So that was the best thing. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. And if someone wants to help you organize the conference next year, they can reach out to you?
Definitely.
What was your favorite presentation from last year?
That's the most funny thing, because when we put together the agenda and we had 3 tracks plus workshops, I wanted to be on every single one. And at the end of the day, I realized I didn't see any single session. And at the same time, I didn't feel I did anything. It's just, the day just went by and I don't have much. But what I probably still remember is Daniel and Sander and their session about the flow, performance versus Apex and all these kind of things. I don't remember the specific features, but I remember the style, and that there are people who care and put the time and effort to measure the differences in performance, and that we should take something out of it and maybe do our applications in different way to be more performant. And I enjoyed the workshops. I jumped for a while for the FSL workshop and for the Einstein Analytics workshop, and it was good. And at the same time, for this year, we decided we will skip the workshops because it blocks half a day of your time. They were good, but you missed a lot. And we got the feedback from the people that they feel they missed a lot. And that's important.
All right, let's move on to the next other interesting organization you're involved in, CRM Pro Neziskovky, which actually I thought you were the founder, and just you were.
No.
I thought you were being humble, and that's why you didn't put founder on it. You just put consultant there.
No, and it's funny, and I didn't know it. I found out just lately, because I met them like those 2012, 2013 on the conference, and I got a feeling that it's running an organization which is looking for more volunteers to implement Salesforce to other nonprofits. So I jumped on board and started to be active. And I think that just last year, I found out that I was one of the first volunteers in the organization. So it was like, oh, I didn't check before and I didn't even think about that. But it's funny. It's definitely funny. No, it was founded because the non-profit organizations in Czech Republic has to be founded by 3 people. So I think it was Aleš, Honza, and Zdeněk, if I remember correctly, and maybe I'm mistaken. And I never checked what's in the registry. And then there is the Petra. She is the good person behind and the one who runs it, and who match the volunteers with the non-profits and try to manage it all together so it somehow looks like we do the things. The non-profit, the CRM Pro Neziskovky or CRM for non-profits in English, is probably the biggest implementator of Salesforce in Czech Republic, because we did, I don't know, something between 50 and 100 implementations in Czech Republic and in Slovak Republic. So it makes us the biggest in number of, in terms of number of implementations, not in number of money we got out of it. It's all run on a volunteers basis. So the volunteers do it on a volunteering basis for the non-profits, which makes it super cheap for the non-profit, but we still charge them some money. I think at the beginning we did it for free, but the thing you get for free, you don't really care, which is especially sad for the volunteer who spent like nights on the implementation. And then a few months later, you find out they don't use it because it was for free, and why care? So I think we started to charge some money, which is not a big money, but it's still money. So they care more, and it's nice because then you do it on your own in your free time. It's not a big job, but it takes a while because for the non-profit, it's not their priority as well. It's like the person who is dedicated to help you implement the Salesforce, their side, they have a lot of other things to do as well. So it takes a few months to implement it, but then you get the feedback like, yeah, hey Martin, thanks to your implementation, we got like 10% more donations last year. And we are super sure it's because of Salesforce.
And that's the most important thing for nonprofits is to fundraise. And
that's the typical implementation. We usually start with the fundraising, where they need to have the track of the donors and their donations. And that's maybe especially in Czech Republic, because at the beginning of the next fiscal year, we need to send the confirmation for the donors how much they donated the year before, so they can put it in the taxes and the government give you back something. So they really need to know how much each donor gave, so they can put this donation letter together. And it's good for them as well, because they really care about repeating donors. They know who are their top donors and what's the average donation and this kind of things. And they can really improve the marketing communication based on that. And because the non-profits are quite often pretty small, they don't have a dedicated marketing team. So you came there as a consultant to implement Salesforce, but you basically slowly get into the debate, okay, we do have the donors in the system, we have the donations in the system, and how it affects the marketing communication, and what can you do about it? Because at the moment you send one newsletter per month, the same to everyone, but maybe you can tweak it based on the data you have about the donors. And you slowly maybe became a marketing consultant, but that's probably a strong word, but at least you enable them to think about doing something more in the marketing and improve their marketing, and along the side get more money from the donors. So interconnected, and that's what I like.
Wow. In US, we don't have such organization. Maybe we can make it possible.
But you have the Cloud for Goods, so they do something similar, don't they?
Yeah, but they are I believe they're just a consulting company focused on the non-profit sector. You guys seem like a non-profit company trying to help the non-profit industry, and it's a lot of volunteers here. Cloud for Good, I think, has professionals. You said you have done 100, or like the organization has done 100 implementations. It seems pretty a lot for Czech Republic.
I don't remember the numbers, and they change all the time, but I feel that there's like 400 Salesforce implementations in Czech Republic, and I'm not sure if it's out of it or above of it. It's like 100 plus non-profit implementations. So it's the ratio is quite big for the non-profit. They really like that they are getting it for free. Like those 10 licenses for free is usually enough for the non-profit. Obviously, it's localized, so it can be in Czech language, which is good for them. It's in the cloud, so they don't have to worry about anything. Plus, there's the number one CRM motto. And nowadays, if you have like 100 implementations of Salesforce in the non-profit sector, basically, if you go to any fundraising conference in Czech Republic and you ask the people around you what they use as a CRM, at least one of them will say Salesforce.
Really?
Which, if you hear it and you speak with like, I don't know, 10 people on the conference, and maybe 3 of them will say Salesforce, one of them will say we have Excel, one of them we have nothing, one of them say I don't know, we have whatever. Then you basically hear the Salesforce and you want to implement the Salesforce because you get it for free, you pay for the implementation, and this way the process speed up because you hear it all the time around you, so you don't really think twice. It's good for them, so it must be good for me as well.
Wow, so interesting. Czech Republic is an amazing country. It's a very small country, but in a lot of ways, like far ahead.
You know, the price of the people is lower than in the West Europe, so it makes a lot of new partners coming from Czech Republic because they can see the higher rates in the Western Europe. They can get the cheaper people in Czech Republic and pay them better because they have better rates in Western Europe. So I heard somewhere that we have the most partners per, I don't know, capita or something.
Really?
Because it looks so easy.
Wow.
That probably makes sense. I don't know. I never did the calculation, but yeah, I would say in the last few years there's a lot of new partners.
So you are part of like CzechDreamin, organizing CzechDreamin, implementing projects for CRM Pro Neziskovky, and I think you're also leader of the Salesforce user group, and you also maintain a blog, an active blog. And I see you already done a couple of posts for July. So how do you find time for this? And why do you even do this? Aren't you already over Salesforce in a lot of other ways?
I don't know. It somehow happened. Basically, the blog is something I started like 2003 is probably the first article I had on my blog. And I found it a good way how to share the knowledge. I don't really use it for myself. Like when I look for some knowledge, I don't really look on my blog, even though there might be an article about it. I always forgot. But to me, it's good to share the knowledge, and at the same time, I feel that how is the saying? If you want to understand something, you need to be able to explain it. So that's what the blog is for me. That when I want to learn about something, it's quite natural for me to write about it. So now I'm in the middle of preparation for the CTA, and just the other day I spoke with someone about the Files Connect, which is probably something we should cover for the CTA, and I didn't know enough. So I put together a thing which I would expect from it, and I give it half a day to test it, and then I wrote a blog post about it because I want to summarize my findings and have a place where I can look back and recall it. So I wrote a blog post quite naturally, and it was like, wow, how did you find time? Well, you had to, because you want to learn it, so you had to play with it, and then you summarize it, and I don't really do anything. I just write the blog post, and then I quickly read it if I see something really wrong, and then I publish. I don't have any editor, any proofreader, any 3 rounds comments and this kind of thing. It's just 30 minutes job.
Really?
The release notes are longer, but otherwise I don't really plan to spend more than 1 hour on it. So it's pretty quick. With the user group, it's something similar. I do have the place where we usually do it. So I just write them, what's your free slots in next month? And they provide me free slots. So I plan when we will do it. They can provide the catering as well. And the thing we need to find is the speaker. We need to see about the topic and find the speaker. So that's the hardest part about it. Everything else is easy. So I don't really see it as something complex and something we need to spend a lot of time. I try to follow the simpler route.
Well done. You like the Tim Ferriss of the Salesforce space, yeah?
Yeah, fake it till we make it and make it look good.
Well done.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a very efficient approach to writing blogs. A lot of people get just stuck on writing their first sentence, or they overthink. I tell people, you just gotta write it, just get it out, yeah?
Yeah, I know all the rules, like you should write it and then you should reread it and rewrote it and make the pyramid or this way, depending on how you want to structure it. And proofreading can improve it a lot and all these kind of things, but I don't really want.
Yeah.
And maybe at the same time, I don't really care. If you ask me how many visitors I do have, I don't know. I don't write it because of them. I write it because of me. I don't promote the blog post correctly, like someone tell you that the writing is just 20% of the job and you should spend like 80% on promotion.
Really?
I don't do it. And maybe I would be even more famous if I would do it. But yeah. It's just there. Use it if you want to use it. Don't care if you don't care. I'm fine.
Very interesting approach, because I also, the reason I started making YouTube videos because I want to cement what I learned, and it really forces me to understand the topic at hand. Like that's why I made a video about Einstein bots, and that's why I made a video. My very first video is about how to get a Salesforce admin certification. I made it in 2016, I think, and I didn't even edit it. I just using my laptop video. I just recorded, boom, and it has like 500 views in a couple of days. But wow! And so I think that's the best approach to making content, is just to teach yourself. That's why I also tell my students that when you're learning something, write a blog post about it. Yeah, like what is asynchronous Apex? What is bad job? And it will really it really accelerates your learning process. Yeah. Last couple of questions, Martin. So you've been in Salesforce space for a whole bunch of time, yeah, since 2012 now, and if someone is young and they're looking to make a change into the career space, into the IT space, I mean, would you recommend them to choose Salesforce versus some other technologies out there?
I would say it really depends. Salesforce is famous for the changing career. Like we have this cosmetic, someone now doing the CIO of Salesforce in some big companies, and hairdresser moving, and all these kind of people. If I meet this kind of people, yes, Salesforce is the way you can choose because it's the declarative approach. You don't, and to me, maybe it's because of the experience. It's like, it looks pretty natural. Like if we speak about CRM, we need to speak about the customers, and you need to track some information about the customers and some opportunities or things you did for them. And it's pretty easy. And even for the hairdresser, it's pretty easy to grab it, because it's like, yeah, I have this lady and that lady, and she wants it always shorter and she wants it always red, and they can imagine, and it's easy to switch into the IT world because it's doable. If we speak about someone who is more technical and wants to think about the development, the Salesforce might be the way to go. And at the same time, especially nowadays, I would say think about something more general, like learn the JavaScript, because you can use the JavaScript everywhere. You are not fixed in Salesforce. So if you learn the JavaScript, you can be the normal JavaScript developer, front-end developer, And you can move into the Salesforce world easily as well because they created the Lightning Web Components. And then you can just learn something extra like Apex and the thing between a batch and async and all these kind of things and queuable. And it's easy to add this kind of knowledge. So it's good for everyone, and it's really about the starting point where you start from. But the declarative approach definitely makes it easier. And if you think about the processes behind, like if you know how to split it into the different steps which needs to be done, which is basically the starting point for the development, but at this time we speak about the flawless development as well. It makes you even better.
In US, they love to Salesforce loves to share stories of people who were like hairdresser or like a truck driver and became a Salesforce admin. Are there similar stories in Czech Republic?
We don't make them that public, but I'm pretty sure they are here. I do have a friend of mine who been always on the client side. She implemented Salesforce in one organization, and then she moved to another organization, and she pushed for Salesforce even though the other part of the company already had the Microsoft Dynamics, but she was able to win the Salesforce and push it into the organization. And then she changed the job for the third time and she pushed for Salesforce again. And during the time I would say she kind of learned Salesforce, but at least she fell in love. For her, it's the way to go when you need CRM. So it's kind of this experience, I would say. We do have the Czechitas organization, which is the Women in Tech style organization who teach women the IT knowledge. It started a few years ago. The founder made it into the 30 under 30 list of Forbes. So she's popular here. And I think they said they taught like 10,000 women along the years. They basically started with the data analysis thing, but slowly moving to other part of the IT as well. So they covered PHP and other things. And together with one of the partners on Czech market, they did a few rounds of the Salesforce enablement as well. And then we do have the Women in Tech Salesforce group here in Czech Republic or here in Prague, which did some enablement for the administrators as well. They started the development course just before the Corona, so they had to pause it for the Corona time because they didn't have the solution for the virtual. It was all hands-on together in one room. They didn't really thought about how to make it virtual. So we'll see how it will progress from September. I didn't hear. So yeah, there's a lot of people a lot of women who've been taught Salesforce, and some of them moved into Salesforce. And we are just, I would say, waiting for them getting even better and then probably push it and really promote it as a successful change from hairdresser to Salesforce admin.
Even in US, the stories are very rare. That's why the Salesforce really promotes them. Like one of them, Zach Otero, he used to be like working in the warehouse. Maybe you heard about him. And his uncle like pushed him to Salesforce, and now he's like an Einstein analytics expert. And Salesforce takes him to all kinds of meetings. Even they took him to the White House to meet Ivanka Trump.
Wow.
And but these are real super rare. It's very hard to come across them. And
what I want to do more, on the other hand, is like, promoting these people who came from different areas to Salesforce is nice. But what I feel we miss in Czech Republic is also the knowledge of Salesforce celebrities around the world. Like I would say in Western Europe and in States, if you say Steve Moll, everyone knows who Steve Moll is. But here we don't really care about all those people. Like that was probably one reason why I came with CzechDreamin to bring those people to Czech Republic. And like, there are people out there who are really happy to help you with your problems, and they are kind of famous, and maybe it should be part of the Salesforce knowledge to know the people who are important in the ecosystem.
I agree. That's actually a really cool idea. Maybe I can write an article about that. Or
Yeah, and then I want to find the people who are not that famous, but they should be famous.
in US, one of the challenges for people who want to get in the Salesforce space, even if they learn the knowledge, they do Trailhead, maybe they do a personal project, maybe get a couple of certifications. And David Liu really promotes also Salesforce and tells you can do it. Salesforce marketing says you can do it, but then no one wants to hire them because everyone wants experience, right? Everyone wants experience, and companies don't want to train you. They want someone who can come in and start delivering in the first week or two. How is the situation in Czech Republic with that?
I would say it's the same. It really depends on who you meet and where you want to go, whether you go for the partner or the client. It might change the situation. Obviously, the more senior people are better, but at the same time, I would say we are so short on the candidates that the junior people are not bad at the same time. But you need to have the right balance between the knowledge, the money, and the willingness to learn, or maybe the ability to learn, which you somehow try to judge. So I would say the overall feeling is that it doesn't really matter how many certifications you have. It's kind of plus, but the real life experience is better. The trailhead is probably even less interesting. Like you have a few hundred badges, who cares? You probably don't have anything to do. And it might be even the other way around, that if you have a lot of certifications and a lot of badges, you obviously have nothing to do. So you are missing the real life experience. So it might be negative. But for me, when we do interviews, we are happy with junior people because we are willing to invest the time and energy into them. But it needs to go together with the money. And we did have a candidate.
You talking about PwC or CRM Pro Neziskovky?
PwC.
Okay.
And I will cover the CRM Pro Neziskovky as well. Good point. So for PwC, we had two candidates which were about the same, but the one wanted money we consider for senior people, and he was really junior, and he didn't understand that we feel it's a lot of money because how people can survive at Prague on lower money, but to us it was like senior level money. So no, sorry, there is no match. But would there be match in money? We would hire him. With CRM Pro Neziskovky, the situation is probably different because it's all on the volunteers basis. So we don't really care about the costs because there are no costs. We are a bit more aware of the investment because when you get the junior people who have no prior experience, you need someone who will mentor them and who will check that the project is on track and on the correct track, because you don't really want to deliver something bad for the non-profit. So then there is a balance about the mentor's capacity and the volunteers' willingness, maybe stamina, because the worst part you can experience is that the volunteer in the middle of the project says, "Oh, sorry, I go away," because that means you need quickly find someone who will overtake it, and it's always hard to overtake a project which is running at the moment. So yeah, it's a different kind of balance. Definitely, it's a way how to get the real life experience, but then we go back to the beginning when I told you about starting with non-profits and having the feeling that it's not good enough experience for the companies. But yeah, maybe you are able to sell it as a good experience, as David Liu says in one of his videos. I was the third most experienced person in the company. So any number is a good number, and if you can put a few numbers in your CV, it might help you. And basically, you don't lie because you did a few implementations. They were all super simple, but who cares? It's still experience.
Yes, and real life customer, right?
Exactly.
This is way better than Trailhead.
And I would say the communication is important, and you get the communication experience on the project.
Yeah, and if the project runs in Jira, you learn about Agile, Sprint.
Exactly. the
stories,
management expectations, and all these kind of things.
Yeah. How is this? You said the Salesforce job market in the Czech Republic is growing. Like 4 years ago, when you got your first Salesforce job, it was much smaller. Like the demand for Salesforce professionals might have been smaller, and today is much bigger.
I would say so. I think that I started the series on my blog like 3 or 4 years ago. I decided that I will put together 52 stories about people from the Salesforce ecosystem, 1 week, one person. And in the middle of the year, I was afraid that I don't have enough people for the rest of the year. And I think that I ran the series for 2 years at the end, so I covered 100 people. And nowadays, I would say I would be able to cover way more because the market really grew a lot. Partners who haven't been on the market 4 years ago now have like 20 plus, 40 plus people. So there's a lot of new partners, and the same goes on the client side, definitely. So it's hard to find good candidate. Yep.
All right.
And we have all the global corporations here as well. They have the delivery centers in Czech Republic.
Really?
So we have big delivery centers for these companies like MSD or Advanced Life Sciences, Monster, and others. So they have big teams here, which make it even harder on the market. So it also means that we are getting a lot of people from the east as well, like Russia, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, from these parts. The people move to Prague, get the job here, maybe move even more to the west in the future, but it's kind of stopover for them.
You said they're delivery centers, so that's like the Salesforce professionals are in like Prague, and they support the global operations Salesforce needs of the company?
Yeah, I think that Advanced Life Scientists have like 3 delivery centers across the globe. So one is at Prague, one is in Asia, and one is in US. The Impact Hub non-profit, which is something like WeWork, has something similar. They on way smaller scale, but they have some people in Czech Republic as well. The MSD/Merck has, I'm not sure whether there are multiple, but definitely one of them is in Prague.
And it just happened in the last couple of years? This didn't exist back when you were starting?
I think MSD existed, and we somehow didn't click together. I was probably too junior for them, too non-developer or whatever. But they did exist at the time, and they still do.
In the salary, let's talk about the salary. Yeah, in US, according to the survey by Mason Frank, they have this global annual salary survey and the last one came out a couple of months ago. According to them, the average salary for Salesforce developer in US is $110,000. This is like average, yeah. It's like San Francisco, Texas, like different geography, city.
So you compare completely different numbers.
Yeah, it's
like San Francisco should be like twice time.
Yes, exactly. And Texas has much lower taxes and much lower cost of living, and so anyway, the average number they come up with is $110,000. For Salesforce admins, is $100,000. A crazy different geography and stuff. But I'm curious, what's the average salary in Prague? Let's say, would you say, like from your personal opinion?
Hard to say, because we do have the habit to not share our salaries. It's not the good talk for pub, and we are probably prohibited from sharing it as well. But I would say, to me, as I feel it, the consultant and the developer is about the same. There's not a big difference. The admin is someone I take maybe more junior, or maybe I feel about consultants being with partners and admins being with customers, and having their life maybe simpler, maybe not. So I would say the admin take less, and the consultants and developers have about the same. And then it's about the seniority. So it can be something between, I don't know, 40 to 100K Czech crowns per month, which is something between 500,000 to 1 million Czech crowns. So it makes it like 20 to maybe 50,000 US. The cost of living is hopefully way cheaper, but it's also about the taxes, because I feel that we pay about 50% on taxes.
Really? Wow.
It's a lot.
Wow. In US we pay like 30%, Maybe depends on the state. Maybe taxes lower.
I think we have.
like...
I'm not sure what's the latest status. We have like 15% or 20% is the taxes, and then we have all the insurances like and the social insurance and the health insurance, which is mandatory, and it's another 10 or 15%, and few other, and all these numbers are calculated from some artificial number because usually you have the netto money and the brutto money or whatever you call it, but we have something called super brutto, which is even more, and that's the price which the employer pay.
I see.
Company. So they pay like 20% on top of what you see.
Wow.
A bit crazy.
All right. So you can work for like end user, or you can work for a consulting company. Are there also independent Salesforce consultants in the Czech Republic?
Definitely independent consultants. It always depends on the definition of independence, because in Czech Republic, especially in the IT sector, it's quite popular to be a freelancer or one man show, and these people by law shouldn't be dependent on one customer, but they quite often are dependent on one customer. The question is whether that fulfills your definition of independent contractor, because to me it's not. There are usually people who are freelancers, but they have one big partner they work for all the time, and they don't have any other income. So on paper, they are definitely freelancer, but in reality, it's just different level of payment.
I see. Maybe just to tax optimization.
That's definitely big.
Interesting. All right. Last question, Martin. I'm curious, who are the biggest employers of Salesforce professionals in US? According to the latest data, I saw like 50% are employed with the likes of Deloitte, Accenture. About 30% are employed by the end users, and then the third group that is growing really fast is the US government. At the federal level, state level, they're adopting Salesforce very rapidly and sucking up a lot of Salesforce talent. Who are the biggest employers of Salesforce professionals in Czech Republic?
I would say there is no government running on Salesforce. And besides that, my initial gut feeling is definitely the partners, like the big four, and maybe even more the local partners, because they grow pretty big. And then we have the big customer, like we spoke about MSD and AdWords Life Sciences. But then I feel if we speak about 400 Salesforce customers in Czech Republic, each of them should have at least one admin. Maybe it's not full-time admin, but there should be someone with the knowledge. So if I count all of them, they are definitely the biggest, but at the same time, they are not visible that much. I would say if I take the typical user group or developer group or any other kind of community group, I would say 50% of the attendees are from partners, and the other 50%, maybe less, are from the end customers. And that might be because the partners feel the importance, while the end customer, it's just a software they use. So why go to some meetups and meet people? Yeah, but the big four companies like Deloitte, Accenture, Blue Wolf / IBM, and in Czech Republic probably the Isobar, which is kind of global company as well. They are the big players. And then we have the local company like Musa Inspire and HANA Solutions and others, which still have quite a lot of people.
That's it from me, Martin. Thank you so much for your time. It was a
pleasure.
Very interesting to learn about the Czech market. I hope to meet you in person at next CzechDreamin.
Hope for the same.
Yeah.
And hope to learn more about other European countries as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Martin, for your time. Have a nice rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Enjoy. Bye.